a huge announcement from the developers concerning the third generation of the Light phone. There's been a reaction of both excitement and concern by new and alumni Light phone users. While some believe it to be a solid upgrade to the original, some others see it as an unfortunate step beyond the company's original vision. Howdy y'all, and welcome back to Alternatively. Just a few days after I released my video on the Light phone 2, the Light developers made a huge announcement concerning the company's next device installment, the Light phone 3. I've gotten quite a few comments on my last video about this new phone, so I figured that I'd make a video about it, my thoughts, and the future of the Light phone 2. The Light phone developers were apparently pretty excited about the announcement of this new phone, because not only did they post videos of what this phone is going to look like and what it's going to do, they've even made a few blog posts giving us specs and sneak peeks into what we're going to be given concerning this new phone. So what are the differences between the Light phone 2 and the Light phone 3? Well, there's actually a lot. So if we go on to this blog post where it shows us all the specs and plans thus far, we can kind of get an idea of where this new phone is headed to. And we can get a better understanding of why a lot of people are excited about it, and also some people are kind of concerned. So if we look at the body, we can already tell that this is going to be a larger phone than the Light phone 1 or 2, which I think certainly is an upgrade because the Light phone 2 is definitely a little small, and I've said before in my last video that it is a little hard to hit the buttons, especially with bigger thumbs, so I think that this will definitely be an upgrade. If we start in the front of the phone, on the top, we see that they will essentially be 2 cameras and also a sensor apparently. I'm not sure what the sensor is for, but from what I've heard so far about the camera, they're installing a front-face one because they're hoping to be able to add a FaceTime-like app so that you can make virtual calls and all that sort of stuff. I'll go over my thoughts on that later. Right now we'll just go over the specs. And then the top we have a speaker for calling and stuff. And then on the top left, that's where they're putting the power button, which is where the power button is now on the Light phone 2. But they've also added a little bonus feature where it's going to be able to recognize your fingerprint ID like the iPhone does. Then if we look on the left side, they've got a wheel. They said that this is going to be versatile, so there's going to be all sorts of stuff that you can control with the wheel depending on what you want. I'm assuming like brightness or loudness or different things like that, or being able to scroll through the menu. And then if we look on the right side, we've got our volume up, volume down button, our menu button, all that stays the same. And then if we go down to the bottom right, we see that we have a 2-step shutter button. And this is interesting because if you don't know already, they're adding a camera to the front of this thing. But they didn't want to make it like the iPhone style to where you just click a little virtual button on the screen. They wanted to make it like a retro shutter camera in a sense. If you've ever had one of those, you know that you press it halfway down to focus and then you press it all the way down to take a picture. And that's essentially what they're doing here. A lot of people are excited about this feature, and I'm kind of interested to see how these pictures actually turn out. And then if we look on the bottom, we see that they have the loudspeaker grill at the bottom. Then they've also changed their charging cord to a USB-C, which is nice because that was a big complaint of Light phone 2 users, is that everything was upgrading to USB-C, and the Light phone was kind of left behind in that sense. Now if you notice, there's nowhere to actually put in a headphone jack, and I've heard that a lot of people are upset about that because they have enjoyed going back and using wired earbuds and their wired headphones and stuff to listen to music and all that instead of having to use the Bluetooth feature. I'm kind of neutral on that. I always use Bluetooth anyways. They're still debating the end product, so maybe they will end up, hearing these people and adding that in. And then if we look on the front side, we can see the camera that's going to be on the top left. And then another interesting feature is they're adding a flashlight. I will say that was one of the things back when I was working doing electrical with my Light phone is, I would use my phone a lot of the time as a flashlight, just to quickly go up into attics and stuff and look at wires and all that. And when I got the Light phone, that was kind of, Achilles heel. So I know that that's kind of convenient to have, so that's nice that they added that feature. Then one of my favorite parts of this build is the battery cover. And, that might be a weird thing to say, but for me, I'd like the idea that you can be able to change the battery if the battery ever should go bad, because in the Light phone 2 there's no way to actually access the battery, and from what I understand, once this battery goes bad, you just have to buy a new phone. And so I do like that it is more sustainable that way. They're also going to give you the ability to change it out yourself, so you don't actually have to send the phone in and then wait however long to get it sent back to you and, pay the fees and all that sort of stuff. But they're giving you that option in case you don't feel handy enough to be able to do that. So let's dive into the features a little bit more. If we scroll down a little bit, we see that they have improved the texting. And the reason they improved the texting is because they took away the e-ink screen. It is now all an OLED screen, which was a huge drawback for a lot of the original Light phone users, because that was a big perk in actually their initial purchase and investment into the Light phone company. Actually getting a call right now. And so while they said it was a hard decision to make, getting rid of the e-ink screen, they ended up making the decision because, the whole idea behind the Light phone is you're not supposed to use it. Like, it's supposed to be used as little as possible. And so they figured, if people are not using it, constantly, like people are on iPhones or laptops or things like that, then, there's not that much of an impact difference between a, e-ink screen and a OLED screen. And so I see where they're coming from at that point. And also, it is going to improve the overall interface as far as like responsiveness, because if you've ever used anything with e-ink, you know that it takes a while to respond. So, when you're texting somebody, you'll click the letter, but it'll take a second for it to actually pop up on the screen. And, you can't really be a fast texter on this thing. But, people have their different preferences. Some people are excited about it, some people aren't. You can't please everybody. And then also it is going to be wider in size, as we talked about before. Compared to the Light phone 1 and 2, there's definitely a noticeable size difference. It's going to be a lot wider than the originals, but compared to an iPhone, it's still going to be pretty small. They have also said that they are no longer going to make the phone out of, actually I don't know what this is made out of now. It's like, it's a lighter weight material, whatever it is. So the Light phone 3 is actually going to be made out of metal. And so it's definitely going to be heavier. Some people who have actually handled this themselves, the prototype, have said that there's a huge difference between the Light phone 1 and 2 and then the 3. They think that it feels less cheap in a way. And in my opinion, I never equated the value of the Light phone 2 to its, weight or, the material that it was made out of. I always expected it to be light because there's not that many tools and doodads and all this junk that they're sticking into it. And so, it's going to be light, not because it's cheap, but because it just doesn't have all of the crazy gadgets that go into your modern phone. And honestly, mine now has held up really, really good, especially with the case. It's held up a lot better than the iPhones that I've owned in the past. So I wouldn't say that, now it being metal is that makes it more valuable. While it does make it more durable, I guess. I don't think just because it weighs more that makes it any more valuable. Definitely will make it more expensive in the manufacturing part of it. And then a huge update that they're coming out with, which is, I've gotten so many comments saying, I can't use the Light phone 2 because it doesn't work in my region. They never fit enough bands in there, and so it's only available in Europe and the United States. And so it was a huge drawback for those who wanted it but could not have it based on where they lived. Well, now, because they made the size bigger, they've been able to fit a lot more bands in there. So now it's going to be able to take 4G and 5G, and it's going to be able to be used in a lot more regions. So now it's opened up to a wider audience. And those people who were previously not able to get it now have access to it. Really, really cool feature. I'm glad that they did that for those people. So now they too can get rid of their smartphones. They do say that the phone is going to have an NFC chip, whatever that means. I'm not a big geek in that sort of stuff. But it says that it won't have any immediate use, that it's just for future stuff. Again, I don't know what you use an NFC chip for, but they do say that it's going to be just in case, like they want to add some future updates to the phone. So, if you know what that is, you can just leave that down in the comments to let people know, because I don't. So like I said, there's a lot of people, going back and forth about whether this Light phone 3 is a good upgrade or if it's beyond the company's boundaries. For me, I'm going to stick with the Light phone 2, not because I don't like the Light phone 3. I think that it's a really cool concept, and I really like the idea that it's kind of like lowered the bar for those, who do want to get rid of their phone, but they still want to hold on to some of the other so-called necessities. I don't really know if they're that necessary, but I do understand, people who don't want to lug around a camera all the time, and want to be able to send pictures and all that sort of stuff. have a flashlight and all those doodads. But because I've been with the Light Phone 2, for almost a year now, I'm good with what I've got. I've gotten kind of used to the interface and using it. Also, I just don't see a point in investing money into something that, I don't need. For those who are starting from scratch and they don't have a Light Phone at all, I can see why you would gear towards the third gen. I also do like the fact that they are now bringing it to so many more people. That is a huge plus for me. I'm thankful that more people are going to be able to access this. As far as like the e-ink screen and, all that sort of stuff, I don't really care all that much about it. I think that it actually is a little bit nicer to have the OLED, just because it does make things go a little bit faster. So especially if you're going from an iPhone to this, it's going to make it a whole lot easier for you to kind of adapt to it than, months kind of using this thing. I will say though, the front-facing camera and the fingerprint ID is, I think, a little weird to me. I don't think the company would personally do anything with it. I do trust them, but it just seems like, that's kind of leaning more towards what the modern phone kind of does. And honestly, they have the password ability on this thing, but I don't put a password on it because, if you break into it, what are you going to find? Just like some text and some contacts and all that sort of stuff. It's not like a modern phone where you keep your whole identity into it. So I think that the fingerprint thing was a little unnecessary. And then I also think that, this idea of being able to, in the future, to video call, I think that also is a little bit of a stretch, in my humble opinion, because, I feel like you can do that on your laptop, and that's kind of the whole point, is to get you off of the phone and use something that's actually made for that, like a laptop. But again, I'm not the owner of the company. They can do what they want, and they can't please everybody. So I don't expect them to cater at all to anybody. It's ultimately their decision. But let's go on to the big question that a lot of people are having. What happens to the Light Phone 2? Is it being replaced? Is it dead? According to the company, no, not at all actually. It had nothing to do with being a replacement to their previous models. They actually see that as an abomination, in their words. And so they said that when they were designing it, that the idea behind it was for it to be a partner to the Light Phone 2 and not a replacement. Essentially, it's just a phone for those, who want to lower the bar a little bit and would like more features to the phone than what the Light Phone 2 has to offer. I'm very relieved that they're not throwing away the Light Phone 2 because I think, a lot of people still really love that phone. And, I personally love that phone. I have no plans on getting rid of it, so it's nice that they're not, scrapping that and moving on to the next one like iPhone does, and pretty much every big company. So they said that they're going to continue to roll out updates. They're going to continue to perfect the interface within the Light Phone 2 along with its successor, the Light Phone 3. So for all of you who have the Light Phone 2, take a breather. It's not going anywhere, and I believe it's not going anywhere for a very long time. So if the Light Phone 3 is something that you're really interested in, and you're like, I don't really care for the Light Phone 2, but the Light Phone 3 is something that I think I could manage a lot more, I will leave a link into the description to their website where you can purchase it. They are running a pre-order sale at the moment, so until July 16th, it's going for right at $400, and then as of July 16th, it's going to raise $100. And throughout the year, it's going to continue to raise until its release, where the price will stagnate, I think, at like $800. I think that's the final price. So definitely, if you're wanting to pick up one now, because you're not going to get a better price than what they're offering at the moment. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please leave a like. It helps me out so much. And as always, glorify Yahweh and burn the boxes. We'll see y'all next time.